Welcome to the Army Football Podcast. I'm Sal Interdonato here with my co-host Steve Anderson. Steve, it's been a while since we did one of these, but it's good to catch up. This is a perfect week to get back at it with Army Air Force and the Commander-in-Chief's trophy on the line. The Black Knights have won 4 games in a row, and I thought last week it was really important for them to keep their momentum going against Eastern Michigan and, be on a little bit of a roll heading into this big game at Michie Stadium. This doesn't happen often when Army plays a game where they have the Commander-in-Chief's trophy in their possession and play Air Force. So it's a huge one coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially since we know that the Air Force Navy game has already occurred. We know Air Force handled Navy pretty well in that game. I think it was 35-7. So they know that they can seal the fate, with a win against Air Force this weekend. Know that they set them up for success for Navy, have another CIC sweep, and get a good look at, possibly how to handle the Air Force's different attacks they like to do this year.
Yeah, you look at the Air Force team. Yeah, they had that big win against Navy. And, they've been playing, they've been mixing quarterbacks in and out due to injury or maybe due to the effectiveness. And now they come into Michie Stadium. You don't really know who's going to start for them. You have a feeling it might be Isaiah Sanders. But, Coach Bunkins had to answer this question a couple times this week about, how do you prepare for 3 different quarterbacks? But do you prepare, you played against Air Force's offense. You played against a Troy Calhoun style, mindset. You're basically playing against a system, not a quarterback, right? Or am I wrong?
No, yeah, absolutely. It's just like, last year when teams, when Army had the one, we knew when Bradshaw was in there, we were going to be running the ball, and when we brought in the backup, that would probably be a passing situation, and there's going to be little tells with which quarterback's in the game and the situation and what they're going to try to do. But yeah, you're scheming against the system that they're gonna run their offense regardless who's taking the ball, and then depending on who is taking the ball, it may give you some tells on percentages or which way they like to run the triple option, right or left, or is it more like keep? Is it more belly keeps or all tackle keeps with the quarterback? Little tells like that. I kind of believe that there's enough film on. I personally believe that there's enough film on all 3 quarterbacks. At least to tell on what they expect out of each one, even if it's just the smallest. It's a game of inches and it's a game of eyes. So you can, as long as your eyes are in the right spot against this, specifically this offense, we should be good.
Yeah, I think Coach Bunkin had to answer this question a couple times, asking if Air Force would have any extra motivation coming in this year after, the thumping Army put on them last year, 21-0, that, in Colorado Springs. Steve, for those Army players, the guys who came back from that game, is there any sense of confidence that what they did from last year heading into this one? Or do you go about the theory that's a different team, a whole new year, a whole new season?
Well, I think it's good to draw from those guys that have the experience of beating, Air Force. Not a lot of people in the past, 15 years have had that experience. We're talking maybe 3 or 4 teams. So it's always good to pull from that confidence. But this team has gained confidence from last year and then what they've been able to do this year. Even in the losses this year, the Duke one was pretty bad. The Duke one was really the only outlier. But with the Oklahoma loss, we've gone in the last 3 minutes. Could have gone either way. But then all the wins, we've had some character wins this year with the game in Miami. Wrenching out against some good defenses that I believe that's where really a lot of confidence comes in, where this team's though, even if it is a bare knuckle fight and it's coming down to the last bit, they have experienced enough wins to where they really really do believe at any second they can pull it out, and that's where they're going to get their confidence throughout the win against Air Force on Saturday.
Yeah, you look at the way the teams played this season, and I don't know, going into the season, I saw a lot of confidence in Kelvin Hopkins, but what he's done on the field has just been pretty, really spectacular, Steve. He missed one game, but with the injury, but last week he bounces right back. Just talk to me a little bit about what you've seen in Kelvin Hopkins leading the offense.
Well, I think it's just a testament to him being a first-year starter and him, Coach Lumpkin putting the trust in him and handing him the reins and telling him, hey, you're our leader, you're our captain. Like, I've got the most faith in you, or I wouldn't have you in this situation. And he's answered the call every time. And on top of that, he's performed exceptionally well for a young player that hadn't had a lot of experience coming into the season. On top of that, you can see it when he makes plays, how much that inspires and motivates the guys around him. And you can tell when he's on the field, the guys are at ease and they're at calm, knowing that, as long as this guy, got the reins and he's taking charge and he's on the field, they feel confident in their ability to put one in the end zone.
Yeah, that passing game has definitely become a factor this year, Steve. Last year was basically non-existent, and this year when you can go play action and hit wide open receivers like Jordan Asbury, like he's done in I think 3 of the last 4 games, I mean that just gonna make defenses have a little bit more to game plan for and worry about. So I think that's really definitely opened up the offense this year, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great thing to see field and stretch the field with those wide open receivers, and then on top of that, connecting. It's when you can connect and make sure that you punish a team for cheating or having their eyes in the wrong place, or not reading their keys, or maybe trying to put 9 guys trying to slip another guy in the box. It makes them keeps them honest on the back end and really test that that monotonous kind of feel of a defensive back and safety where triple option, okay, triple option, okay, triple option, okay, where they're not seeing a lot of action on the majority of the game, and then they start to get like, oh, I remember this play, I can get on this play, and that's the time to strike with going over top of them, and converting is a huge thing there. We have to continue to make teams pay for trying to get an extra man in the box.
Yeah, you played on a pretty good defense when you were at Army. Last week against Eastern Michigan, that first half is about as perfect as you can play on defense. 4 straight 3-and-outs, 13 plays by Eastern Michigan, 18 yards. Defense maybe came up a little slow after halftime, but definitely finished strong with James Nautical's, forced fumble and Chandler Ramirez fumble recovery. What have you seen with the defense as the season progresses?
I'll tell you what, those guys are on the same page every snap, and they're getting the right call, and everyone is, when Army's defense this year has all 11 guys with everyone knows the exact call and everybody's eyes are in the right place before the snap. I mean, it's tough because we have an offense that will, they'll keep possessions away from the opponent's offense. So it's even more critical for those teams that Army plays to make every possession count. And this defense, like you said, if you get multiple 3-and-outs and a half, they're only going to get a dozen to maybe 20 plays in a half. And the way the defense is playing right now, I mean, it was really exciting to watch last weekend and just see just how good Christensen's got that defense all on the same page and how much of a leader he's become since last year as a sophomore.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you just about a couple players on the defense and just what you've seen. I look at Elijah Riley at corner. This is Army hasn't had a corner like Elijah Riley in a long time. Steve, he's 220 pounds at a cornerback, and he can cover with the best of them, and he can really put down a lick. You've seen a lot of Army football. Have you seen a corner with the skill set of Elijah Riley in the last maybe decade? To me, he's a rarity for Army, and definitely one of their better players on the field. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's the biggest corner I've seen on the field for Army. We've had some tall, lean Army guys that played about 6'1", 205, but they force. And more importantly than anything, it's they always talk about mindset and mentality, and he's got that defensive back mentality where he knows he is on an island. He knows teams are going to try him because, he is on an island, and that, Army's defensive back core, hasn't always been the strongest in the program's history. And he knows he's going to get tested, but he welcomes the challenge. He wants teams to try it, and he capitalizes. I mean, I've seen him make some incredible pass breakups this year that, he's the guy. He's our lockdown corner, and having that mentality of throw it to me, throw it to my side. I'm going to make you pay. Not today. It speaks exactly how he played.
Yeah, he made a tackle that you would be a lot proud of at the end of that Miami game on that 2-point conversion. Man, he just kind of stuck that running back who had like 2 yards to get into the end zone for the win, and he just dropped them. And that's physical play. And when you're getting physical play from your corners, that's got to bring a lot of energy to the defense as a whole. And you look at what they've done up front, Steve. This is a different Army team. Last year, they mixed and matched. They had John Voight, and they'll play a 3-man front. They would move Alex Ackerman into a, maybe as that third defensive lineman sometimes. And this year, you look at Ray Wright and Wumi Oyatuga, those guys are playing a lot of snaps, and even Jacob Covington, a junior who's come basically a lot out of nowhere. That defensive line is really holding up and having like the guys like Nautical Christensen do their jobs and make plays. I think that you always look at the offensive line as overlooked at sometimes on offense, but this defensive line, Ray Wright has had a really good, a solid season for Army. He was named the defensive player of the week for Army at Eastern Michigan last week, and what does that do when you have guys that just do their jobs up front and have the linebackers able to make their plays?
It's kind of like an oxymoron when you say the D-line and O-line are overlooked. It's just the nature of their position. But we all know on the back end, running backs, quarterbacks, linebackers, even DNs to some extent, we all know we can't do what we do without a dominant line in front of us, be defense or offensively. And, but it is not when the skilled players and when the linebackers talk about, I couldn't do it without my defensive line, it's not to give credit to them. It's because it's a fact, and it's across any level of football that if you don't own that point of impact, that line, you're not going to win the game. You just can't. It's not possible to win a game when people are constantly all over your back and your quarterback, or linemen are able to get up on your second level and create those gaps for your running backs to hit. So, Coach Monken and his staff have really done an excellent job of finding those personnel that fit into their system, that understand their system and are really coachable, and more than anything, are really technical. Our defense and offensive line guys are super technical with their hands. The way we've been able to adjust with the new rule this year on the offensive line, still penalties here and there. That's like any other team, but it's just a testament to the system, to the coaching staff, and to the players that have made a commitment and have made a determination that is it's awesome to watch as a as a lifelong fan.
Yeah, you look at, maybe slightly cliche, but like you said, I mean, these service academy games, that's where the game is won, right? Steve, right in the trenches. I mean, and that's the physical battles that you have to win to come up big in these games. And what when you look at these two teams coming into Saturday's game, I mean, what do you see in that kind of matchup? I mean, that's gonna be a big part of this, right? I mean, Army needs to create space up the middle to get their fullbacks going and open up other things on the outside and maybe through the air. So, I think that's obviously always big in these games.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about, the opportunities that come from having the dominant line. I mean, that's where you get, hits on the quarterback running back exchange where you can get turnovers. That's where you pressure the quarterback to, throw an early pass or throw it to get hit in a ball tip. I mean, that's really what we're talking about here is dominating the line of scrimmage and creating turnovers because, turnovers have always been a pretty big indicator of who's going to win the game. And that's not just in service academy games, but that's in all games. But again, when we're talking about how every possession is so key in games like this because the clock basically runs for, the entirety of the game, that's where we got to make our money is those miscues, create turnovers and, getting those holes up the middle for, our QB, our fullback, that tandem right there, get them going early, and that's going to open up the slot backs and the receivers, and we'll have a good day with it.
Yeah, Steve, you played in these games, obviously. The rivalry between Air Force and Army, I think we talked about this every year. It's a little different than Army-Navy, isn't it? Or maybe this year, maybe it's a little bit more intense because of what's on the line, the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. How do you see that?
Yeah, I think it's I just think it has less history than the Army-Navy game, and that's probably why it's not as big as a skeptical. It's not played on a neutral site. Air Force has an all-time lead that is much greater. I'm not sure what the reason behind that is, or what caused that, or what time period where they really, got all their victories against us. But I remember Air Force being my senior day. So it was always that's kind of another thing that made it special to me is it was my senior day, senior game, my senior year. So that made it a little special. We were wearing the all gray uniform with the gray helmet. Had a new uniform for it. So at least the coaching staff when I played made it seem a little more, important in those kind of aspects. But as far as the game goes, yeah, this year does mean more because we've got the trophy, and we know with a win today or win this weekend means we get to keep it.
Yeah.
Period. Regardless of what happens at Navy, is we keep it. But obviously, we're not going to take that mentality when we go play Navy. Like anytime you can beat Navy is a big win. So, but yeah, it's a little different, but everyone kind of, there's Zoomies, Sal. You know what I mean? It's the chair force. You can't lose to them.
Yeah, there's always the thing where when Army and Navy take the field, there's respect. There's more respect in that game. And where maybe Army and Air Force take the field, there's a little bit more, not maybe smack talk, but a little bit more, I don't know if hatred is the right word, Steve, but...
Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely agree with that. I think that I wouldn't use hatred. I would just use a little less respect. I think there's a little more respect in the Army-Navy game, and I don't know what the rhyme or reason for it is. I work with Air Force guys more so than I work with Marines or Navy right now in my career. So it's not, but yeah, it absolutely is that. There is a little more, at least from the Army side, we didn't like Air Force as much as, I could I don't know if it's the program. I don't know if it's the program. I don't know if it's Coach Calhoun. I don't know if it's because they were beating us 35-7 or something, and they decided to throw a 50-yard bomb to our goal line, and then the next play I tore my ACL when it was fourth down for them. I don't know if it's any of that personally, but I just know that there is a little more smack talk and a little less respect for Air Force than for Navy.
Did Air Force recruit you, Steve, or was it just Army out of the service academies?
No, Navy recruited me as well. So Navy, I actually got an offer from Navy before I got one from Army, but I didn't get recruited by Air Force. Gotcha. Maybe that's another thing that's in the back of my head.
Yeah, because I talked to Coach Munkin about recruiting, and you think that with Army winning the CIC last year and having now actually a three-game win streak in the Commander-in-Chief's Trophy round robin, whatever you want to call it, you think the recruiting would be Army would be on top of the recruiting, and he says it's always a battle with Air Force. It's always competitive, and usually people find the recruits find they're right where they're supposed to be. Like I'm sure when you were getting recruited, like you said, you had the Navy offer, but Army just seemed right for you at that point. Is that what happened pretty much, or you just felt that was where you're supposed to be, or?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true, Sal. I think it all kind of plays out over time, and it may be a product of the institution overall, but for the most part, there are some guys that cross ranch into different services once they graduate, but most of the time, when you talk to as you see guys mature from 18 to 22, 23 years old, I don't know. You kind of be like, yeah, that guy was an Army guy the whole time, or that guy went to the Naval Academy. And it kind of fits up that way. And Coach Munkin's exactly right. Like, 90% of the time they usually end up, right where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, this week sold out Mikey Stadium. Should be an incredible atmosphere.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be awesome.
The 1958 team is being honored. It's their celebration weekend. That's the last undefeated Army team. Pete Dawkins, Heisman Trophy winner. He's always in the house at Mikey Stadium. I don't know if Coach Munkin was asked about how he felt about them celebrating the weekend and stuff, and he's in comparison to this year's team is like, well, we already have 2 losses. They didn't. They're part of the Army history, and I'm sure when you come into the program as a player and you see those national championship trophies that they have and the Heisman Trophy winners in the football office, and they keep the Commander-in-Chief's trophy there, Steve, in the Army in the Army football office. So I'm sure Army. This is I think it's the biggest game in Coach Munkin's 5 years this weekend. You could say last year against Navy, but the fact that the Commander-in-Chief's trophy is on the line, you have to keep it, win and keep it there. It's to me, it's the biggest game in Munkin's 5 years right at this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. It really is because it's a big weekend for Air Force as well. Air Force can seal the deal this weekend as well.
Yeah, and you look at I think that, Air Force, if Air Force were to pull this game out and take that trophy back west, wow, that would definitely hurt the program. I know that we really quickly talk about Army's 10-game winning streak at home. The last team to beat Army at home was Air Force in 2016 in November, so they're looking to continue that streak at home. The games have been pretty exciting at home. I think there was 6 of them out of the 10 that have been decided by 7 points or less during the streak. So they're going to give the fans the money's worth. And you look at this it's an under the radar game in college football this week, but to the people that are close to the rivalry and the service academies, it's a gigantic game that everybody, if they have a chance this weekend, should watch.
Yeah, people that understand what's on the line and what it means to these guys to win the Commander's Chief and play do, and you know, a year from now is as seniors is pretty special, and it's a big weekend, and we got to have it. We got to show up. We got to start off strong. We got to control the ball, and we got to be physical on the offensive defensive line.
Yeah, I'll have all your coverage on on Twitter. Sal Interdonato, throw some Instagrams up there. You can look at Record Online for blogs and everything like that. And hopefully we'll be back here next weekend to recap the Army Air Force game. Steve, as always, great talking to you. Great getting back together with this.
Absolutely, beat Air Force.